Oh yeah, hello everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of Coffee and Sports in the Morning, right here on Wire to Wire Sports. I'm your host, Mr. William D. Morgan, and I have my brother from another mother with me, my man Mo Better. Mo Better, what's up, man?
Hey, good morning, Will. Good morning, everybody out there joining us.
All right, all right. Hope everyone had a great evening. Got a lot to get into today. Let's get into it. Mo, I did want to ask you, and I didn't get a chance to ask you this yesterday, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure I brought it up today. Um, Nick Wright says Russell Westbrook hasn't been part of winning in basketball in any of his errors. Do you agree with Nick Wright?
If it means Russell Westbrook hasn't won a title, that would be a factual statement. But you can't say he hasn't been part of winning. I believe Russell Westbrook has played in multiple conference finals. He's obviously been to an NBA final, so he
Mhm.
has had a level of success. So, look, I get what he's trying to point out and trying to say that he's not a winning player. That's where he's leaning towards. I'm a Russell Westbrook fan, but I will say this, and I've always said this. This goes back to before he left Oklahoma City. He's a great player, relentless, one of the most freakish athletes I've ever seen in NBA history. But in late game situations, I would never want Russell Westbrook hands on the ball. He's just never been a great late game decision maker. That's just that comes with the Russell Westbrook package. But the idea that say that he's not a winner or he hasn't helped teams win, I disagree with that. There are a lot of guys that are associated with winning, and they haven't won titles either.
Good morning, Ando. How you doing? How you doing? Good morning, Key. How you doing this morning? Welcome to the stream, everybody. Appreciate y'all being here, taking the time out to join
Would
us here on Water Wire Network.
would we say that Chris Paul's never been part of winning because he hasn't won a title?
True that.
He
True
hadn't
that.
won. He hadn't won anything.
True that.
Will we say James Harden? There's a lottery list of players that statistically have been dominant and been all NBA players for the better part of a decade. And because they haven't won a title, he's belittling them and saying that they're less than.
Right.
The Hall of Fame, I just had this conversation, I swear. The Hall of Fame is littered with great all time players that never won a title.
And speaking of the Hall of Fame, I'm glad you brought that up because it goes into another topic I have for today. Carmelo Anthony have been elected, and it was notified that he will be going into the Hall of Fame. Well deserved.
Yeah, I think Melo's easily a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's not shocking. Remember, I always tell people this: they get caught up in it's the NBA doesn't have a Hall of Fame. It's the
Nope.
basketball. It's the
That's the Hall of
basketball
Fame.
Hall of Fame, and when it's the
Hmm.
basketball Hall of Fame, it doesn't entail just what you did in the pros. It's your body of work in professional basketball. So it's the fact that he won an NCAA title as a freshman. It's the fact that he's been a member of, I believe, 3 gold medal teams, and that he's a 10-time All NBA player and a 10-time All Star. So he's had a terrific career. We just talked about it. Great career. Did not win did not ultimately win a title,
No.
but we're not denying that he had a great career. We can look. Nick Wright could, if he wanted to, you can pick apart a lot of careers, but he singled out Russell Westbrook for a reason. Maybe he's got a personal gripe with him. Vince Carter didn't win a title,
True.
and he had no problem getting into the Hall of Fame. So I think you have to separate being a Hall of Fame player from the whole thing about winning a title. I think the title thing carries more weight when you're in a certain group of players and you're having a conversation about all-time greats, right? We know Melo's a great player. Vince Carter was a great player, and they're in the Hall of Fame. But I think there's levels to the Hall of Fame. Um, Maybe Melo and Vince are on the third floor, but there is a penthouse. They're not in the penthouse, and
Mhm.
they don't have access to the penthouse, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Zion Williamson has been shut down for the season by the Pelicans. Um, Mo, am I being egregious by calling him a bust?
I don't think you can call him a bust, but I think you definitely can call him a disappointment.
Yeah.
Um, we've seen him play, and when he has played, he's shown you what he can do on the floor. But he's been a disappointment because his weakest, I guess, ability is availability. He's not
Yes.
available,
Yes.
and he's not what I would call a leader, not a prototypical franchise player in terms of the guy you want to be represent your franchise as the face of your franchise. I think the Pelicans are going to do what they've done the last few years. They've shut him down. I get that. They're not going to make the playoffs. That's smart. He can come into next season healthy, and I'm sure their plan is he'll be fully healthy. And if, because you always have to lead with if he's healthy, they think that they have the potential to make the playoffs. I would agree with all that thinking, but if I were a GM, I would move him while he's healthy.
Good point. Good point. Good point. I also thought it was interesting they shut down CJ McCollum too. And I thought picking him up, good locker room guy, but the production just isn't there like it was in Portland.
It's not, and I think the CJ can be a piece on a title contender because he is older. I think him and Drew Holiday are around the same age, so I think CJ has value, but I think he has less value as a member of the Pelicans because they're not even playoff contenders, let alone title contenders. I think CJ McCollum would have more valuable. He'd be more valuable to a team like the Timberwolves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
a veteran in the locker room and somebody that's still productive. He would have more value there. So I don't even know why he's still a member of the Pelicans.
I don't get it either. I don't even get why you. I don't get why you even picked him up. There's no Dame Lillard there for him to have protection from because he got a lot of protection by playing with Dame.
He did, but I think that Dame got a lot of protection from him too. I think CJ's one of the more underrated scorers in the NBA. The one time that the Dame Lillard Blazers went to a conference finals, it was on the strength that CJ McCollum came up big in a game 7 against a young Nuggets team, and CJ McCollum scored 37 points and got them over the hump. Dame was awful in that game 7, but CJ carried them. So Dame is the bigger name. He's the better player, but I think CJ has had just as many big moments. It just goes unnoticed because he's not as big a name.
All right. Let's switch gears, but we're still staying in the NBA. I want to say thank you for everybody coming out joining us here on Wire to Wire Sports. It looks like Ja Morant's being investigated once again. Is this something to be investigated for, though?
So I watched that game and the back and forth. And by the way, that was Steph's game where he went for over 50.
Yep.
Ja Morant actually had a great game his own self. I think he had
36 points.
Yeah, yeah. And they were going back and forth, both teams. They got a little bit vocal, but the gesture he made, that's like no gun I've ever seen. Like I don't know what they're talking about.
Me either.
That gesture is closer to jazz hands than it is a gun. So I don't really know. It was a gesture, but just because it's Ja Morant, you attach it to he made a gun gesture. That's not a gun gesture. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
I think this is about his history and not about what happened. You might not like the gesture, and it might seem obscene, but it definitely wasn't a gun gesture. So let's move off of that.
Let's pump the brakes on that. Let's put the brakes on that. I want to talk about something else, but stay within that same realm. The Dylan Brooks ejection. Was that really an ejection? Was it deserving of being an ejection?
Well, we know
barely touched him.
That's a tough one to say. Barely touched him. We're all built differently, you know. I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe he didn't barely just touch him. I don't know. When you do a Mr. Miyagi kick, I mean, who knows what could happen with that? That was straight from Daniel-san, right? That was the final. That was the final scene in the movie. I think this one is more egregious than the Ja Morant thing. I'll put it that way because I don't think it was an accident. So let's go there. Whether he barely touched him or not, the intention was clear.
Right.
So I think what suspension he got, he earned.
The Rockets clinched their first playoff berth since 2020. How did the Rockets? How were they able to turn things around as quickly as they did?
Let's start with their head coach, Ime Udoka. He brought a different mindset. He brought in a culture with him, and they not to mention a couple of veterans. And I think they changed that locker room. More importantly, their young core players, they bought into the change and they bought into the system. I think they've had a great turnaround. it actually started late last year, but they've had a great turnaround.
Mhm.
And I think Houston is a fun team to watch. I think they're one player away from being legitimate title contenders. And like I said, that's all about the culture that Ime Udoka and his staff built around players like Amir Thompson, Jalen Green.
Yes.
They did Atari Eason, like the younger core players bought into this system, and it works for them. They play at a fast pace. They play hard. They generally beat teams on the boards. They beat you to 50-50 balls.
Oh yeah.
They're all about that work, putting in the work, aggressive, talented team. But again, to me, it starts with their coach and the culture that he brought there.
Hey, what's up, Kyle? How you doing, brother? They moved out some young pieces for vets and let their core grow together. That's a good point. That's a good point. I agree. And it's good to see him back in the playoffs too. Let me ask everybody this. And since his return, Anthony Davis looks like he's playing well. Been on a little bit of a tear. 34-15 last night. Can Dallas make the play-in and cause some havoc?
I think they can make the play-in. I'm not sure they can cause any havoc because they're not whole. If the team was whole, it'd be entertaining to see what they could do. I think AD is good enough to get them in the play-in, good enough to maybe even win the play-in and get them into the playoffs. But I think they would lose in the first round.
I would love to see them whole. Healthy Kyrie, a healthy AD. I love to see that. I would really love to see that.
Throw in Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford.
I'd love to see that and see those boys just take off. But ain't no way in the world you don't fire that general manager after this season. Ain't no way in the world you don't fire him.
I don't know if you're that general manager and you've done what you've done and things have gone as bad as they could go. When you go in to meet with your owner, they have those end of the year meetings.
Yeah.
What do? Toss your hands up and go, like, you know what I mean? Like, you should be fired. You should be fired. And your fan base has not stopped raging since the Luka trade.
They're still calling for it.
They're still calling for it. So they're not over it. I don't think they're going to get over it. And the fact that the Mavericks went from being a contender to a team that might not even make the play-in, that's how do you not, as a fan base, be outraged? Not to mention, the Mavericks had the nerve to raise their season ticket prices. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, that goes into effect next season. That's
right,
crazy,
but that's insane. Like,
it's crazy to me.
Doing what you did, making your fan base feel like they did. If anything, you would think, guess what, guys? We're going to lower ticket price. You know what I mean? You would do something different.
Yeah,
raise them.
Yeah, to get people to come out to the damn games.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This idea that we're going to sell them on hope. that's a horrible sell, especially when your other all NBA player, Kyrie, is coming off an Achilles injury.
Yep.
And look, that it's one of the hardest injuries in sports to come off of for any athlete, but especially an athlete with Kyrie, who torques his body as much as he does when he handles the ball with his stop and start ability.
Yep.
Will he be able to be that same player? Like, I think Kyrie's going to miss significant time going into next season. But look, if he comes back looking like Kyrie, that's all that matters as a fan. I don't care if he needs 60 games or whatever. I don't want to see Kyrie Irving touch a basketball or get on the court till he's 100%.
Oh yeah, for real. You're right about that. For real, you're right about that. The other day, Draymond Green says the past eras of players don't respect this era of players. Does he have a point?
No, but
yeah, I don't think
so. I think guys like him and Channing Frye, when they don't have nothing else to say, that's become their new go-to. We're not getting enough respect from players from the past. If they don't respect you, maybe they don't respect you because you guys go on podcasts and run your mouths all the time. Maybe it's that. Yeah, maybe it's that, because I can see what that would be annoying. When you say blanket statement things that aren't factually true, when you go, like, I've heard Draymond say, had I played in the 80s or whatever, I would have been even better. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you got to kind of stay in reality. Had he played in the 80s, he would have been a role player.
Oh yeah,
he'd have been a role player. Like what's the old boy that played for the Bulls? He would have been like Scott Williams. Or what's the guy that he would have been Cliff Levingston. You know what I'm saying? Like the idea that you would be better because you want to denigrate another era and go, well, today's game, the players are bigger. It's one of the most played out lines. They're bigger, and no, they're not. No, that's not remotely true. There are some anomalies that you can point to. LeBron is a physical anomaly.
Yes.
You'll never see another perimeter player be like that size. He's an anomaly. Durant's an anomaly. Dirk was an anomaly. Wemby is an anomaly. Shaq, who, by the way, is not even from this era, is the biggest anomaly of all. You can't say they're bigger and stronger because no one's ever come after Shaq that is bigger and stronger than Shaq. And he's a product of 92. So it's a dumb line, especially when you realize that 2 out of the 3 best players in this league right now are less athletic than you and me.
Oh yeah.
So you can't go with that tired line.
Joking and Luka.
Right. You can't use that tired line.
I think it's so funny because you mentioned Shaq. You remember when they played the Nets in the finals? And you remember that picture of Shaq dunking and all 5 of those dudes couldn't stop him. That was just amazing. Oh my gosh.
You're talking to a lifelong, a diehard Lakers fan. It was funny because before that series, I was thinking, so we're gonna sweep the Nets. Now, and we did. Look, I call it how it was. Their center was Todd McCullough.
Yeah.
And another guy I think was Aaron. I can't remember his last name, but the point is, it was Todd McCullough and Joe Nobody. And you can't put a Joe Nobody up against a prime Shaquille O'Neal. They didn't have a chance in that series. And even looking at Kobe and what he did, and he went up against better defenders. He had to go up against Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, and they couldn't guard him either. So look, think about that. Take a prime Shaq and a prime Kobe, and you just drop them in this NBA with even all the changes. And you can tell me all the things that he can't do. What I could tell you is all the things that Shaq and Kobe can do, they would dominate this era too.
Let me ask you this. Who's the better? If you had to take two players, who would you take? Kobe and Shaq or LeBron and D Wade?
Oh, I'm taking Kobe and Shaq. I don't think it's that close.
Me too.
Me too. All in their prime, I'm taking Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah, me too. No shot and no disrespect to D Wade.
It's not, because that's a great duo. That's a great duo that went to 4. I believe they went to 4 finals together.
4 finals.
Right. So I'm not. That's not a knock. I'm just saying the duo of Kobe and Shaq was a better duo.
Yeah. I'm taking that one all day long.
By the way, I'm a huge Dwayne Wade fan. I think that not only do more fans in general, I think, underrate him, I think he underrates himself.
Well, what do you have Dwayne Wade ranked as far as all-time shooting guards?
I think he's either 3 or 4. I think he's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You
ain't too many ahead of him.
There's not. I mean, and the 2 that are ahead of him obviously are so iconic, Kobe and Jordan. I don't know who you would put ahead of him. A lot of people like James Harden, but when I look at them, I judge them on which one I think is a better basketball player. Wade was a better basketball player.
Go back and look at some of the stuff that Dwayne Wade did. The block shots at the 2 guard position, the defense that he played, the level of basketball IQ that he showed you. Man, D Wade was that dude.
And he was that dude before he and LeBron were teammates.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was that dude before. He was that dude before that. And he was unique because a lot of power forwards or centers are great weak side defenders. He was a guard that was a great weak side defender. If you beat somebody off the dribble against the Heat, he came out of nowhere to meet you at the rim.
Yep.
That was unique.
The Heat did beat the Celtics 124-103 last night to win their 6th game in a row. What are expectations for the Heat?
Um, Going home, I guess. I mean, are we talking about in the playoffs? I don't even think they make the playoffs. I don't think they make the playoffs. I know they beat the Celtics, but that win is about as much impactful as your Bulls beating the
Yeah.
Lakers.
Yeah, it's too
It
late.
it means something to the Bulls. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything to the Lakers.
Yeah.
The Heat beating the Celtics means something to the Heat. It doesn't mean anything to the Celtics.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Um, I hope they get that team right, man. I hope they get that team right because I feel sorry for my boy Bam.
And Bam's a really good player. He's a really good player, but he's not the kind of guy that can be the guy. But
No.
he would. I guess my player comp for Bam, I would say that Bam Adebayo is a modern day Horace Grant.
Yeah. A little bit better of a score, but yeah.
Right, but their skill sets line up, and so you want that kind of guy on your team.
You do.
The problem is what's missing in Miami, and it's been missing for a while, is Jimmy took them to two finals.
He did.
And look, that to me is something that's big on his resume because it showed that he could be the best player on the team that could go to the finals. Very few guys can just turn around and do that, and he did that. But what they don't have now is they don't have a guy like that. And
they don't have that, as you said, how you say it, Mo. They don't have that alpha.
They don't have that alpha, right? They don't. Tyler Hero, he wants to be that guy. The problem with it is he's masquerading as the guy, but what he really is he's the sidekick to the guy.
Oh yeah.
And when they get the guy, they're straight because they'll have their sidekick, and then they'll have the glue guy that can get you buckets, and that's Bam. But right now, what Miami is desperate for is they need a franchise type of player, and they're kind of in the situation with the Steelers in football. They're just good enough to where they don't get a lottery pick.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like, and they're not bad enough to where they get a lottery pick. Like they actually need to be worse to be able to go out and try to draft somebody that can change their franchise's fortune. Because other than drafting well, they're left with free agency. And if you're a top free, matter of fact, let's go with the trade rumors. The rumors are that KD's going to get traded. We agree he's going to get traded.
Yep.
But you're not going to trade him to the Heat because what are you going to get in return unless part of that package is going to be Hero, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if Miami has the assets to bring in a Kevin Durant. And look, he's not even the answer to your prayers because he's 37.
Yeah.
So he's only there. He's a Band-Aid. They don't need a Band-Aid. They need to go out and find their Cade Cunningham. They need that guy, and they don't have it right now. And until they get that guy, Miami's going to be in NBA purgatory for a while.
Oh wow, I feel so. I've never met a bad Miami Heat fan. Everybody who I know that loves the Heat's been really cool. Been really realistic with the team. I feel sorry for that fan base. They deserve a winner.
No, look, it's a great fan base, obviously a great area, and they've had some success. But
yes,
look, I think Pat Riley's done what Pat Riley's done. He gambled on a couple of things when he brought Jimmy Butler there.
That was a gamble at the time.
It was. And look, Jimmy's been a terrific player for a long time. But if you told me initially that I think Jimmy Butler, that I think he's the kind of guy that could take a team to the finals as the best player, I would have said no.
Yeah.
And I think let's be honest. Let's keep it.
What up, G? Can we cry?
What you say?
Come on. Are we really crying about Miami?
I'm not crying about Miami.
I'm not crying about Miami.
But I think Jimmy overachieved by doing that, and I look at him differently because anybody can go on a finals run. Jimmy Butler went on 2 finals runs. That's not a fluke.
They won 3 chips in the last 25 years. You right about that. You right about that. And they won one without LeBron. So can't disrespect that fact.
Titles are hard to come by, right? It's not easy. Yep. Like you just said, they won 3 titles in 25 years. You're a Sacramento King fan. You'd love to have that history.
You'll love to have that.
You feel me? Like if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan, you'd love to have that history. So I'm just saying there are tons of franchises wish they had Miami's history.
Look, man, I'm just saying that for that fan base, that's a great fan base. I love that fan base. Everybody's been cool. Everybody, to me, To me, there's some bad fan bases out there, but I think the Miami Heat has a good fan base. Very intelligent. And I just want to see them. I would just love to see them get a winner. We just love to get to see a winner. They're not like Dallas Cowboys fans. We all know how Dallas Cowboys fans are. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to say that. My bad. I wasn't supposed to say that. My bad. Let's go ahead and move over to the NFL. And Mo, I still can't believe this is something that's going down. I still can't believe they're talking about this for real. When I first saw this story a couple weeks ago, I thought it was it's being discussed that the NFL banned the tush push. Come on, man. We really doing this?
I still can't get over it myself
We
because
really doing
I
this?
feel like when they meet, this is like your biggest topic of
Leave
discussion.
it
Like,
alone.
how do we stop the Eagles? And somebody stood up and said, "How about we just eliminate it because we can't stop it?" Like they were like, "That guy's smart. This guy's smart. Let's vote on it." Right? If you want to make the case that it's not a football play, you might be able to make that case. But to me, everybody's welcome to do it. Right?
Right.
Everybody.
Right.
It's not like they're doing something that nobody else is allowed to do. Like, no, everybody's allowed
Exactly.
to do it. They just can't do it the way they are, and everybody's invited to stop it.
Yeah.
And nobody's found a way to stop it yet.
I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it till you stop it.
Right. And that, as they should keep doing it till somebody can stop it.
I can't believe it's a thing. I just can't believe it's a thing.
I just feel like there's some whiny owners in there that are like, "Come on, man, we need to do something about that." Like,
We do.
Look, you're crunching the numbers, but the numbers are they have a huge, powerful, dominant offensive line. They've got a quarterback that can squat 600 pounds.
Yep.
And I think their running back can squat close to that, if not more. And he's the guy pushing them, right? Like,
Yep.
It's incredible, but they have the personnel to make it so dominant. Like, not everybody has everything that I just described.
Not everybody has that. So why you gonna penalize a team that? Why would you penalize a team that does have it?
I'm with you. Look,
Make no sense.
I think it's a football play. If it wasn't a football play, they've been doing it for the better part of what, 3 years.
Yep.
And now you just said, you know what? We think we need to outlaw it.
It's just stupid.
And they're using it. What was the excuse? It's under the guise that it's for player safety. Come on, man. If you're gonna outlaw the tush push for player safety, then I guess what's next? You're gonna outlaw the quarterback sneak at the 1 yard line for player safety. Like, come on,
gosh,
come on.
This is ridiculous.
You know this has nothing to do with player safety. Stop it.
I just hate it when you get a bunch of suits who's never played the game before. A bunch of these guys in high school got shut up by athletes in their lockers, and now you want to try to make yourself sound smart and do some bull stuff like this. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous just to hear yourself freaking talk. Leave it be. It's a legitimate football play with a team who has the tools to do it. Leave it alone. Find something. There's so much other stuff that you can talk about that involves player safety. This? Get out of here.
Right. There are more important things. You could be talking about rule changes or adding rule changes that could better the game.
Right.
But I don't think this betters the game in any way. This isn't about bettering the game or competition. This is about a handful of owners that are whining because they can't stop it. And they just said, why don't we just do away with it and we don't have to stop it?
It's crazy to me. I do want to go ahead and move over to the Miami Dolphins. It looks like their star receiver Tyreek Hill is unhappy once again. If you were the Miami Dolphins, what would you do with Tyreek Hill?
I think at some point when you have that kind of guy that's more about me than we, even though he's a great wide receiver, he's in terms of being able to take the top of a defense, he might be the greatest deep threat in football. And because you have to give him that respect, he's great underneath too. Like, I don't think he doesn't have a wide route tree, but he's so freakishly quick and fast. You have to respect that. His ability, he's very unique, but I don't think we let wide receivers run teams, right? Or At least they shouldn't. And he is, I believe he is 31. So he's probably got a couple of more years at a high level, but at some point, look, I think you have to reconsider your commitment to him or his commitment to you all, because he seems to be, one minute he apologizes and they're good. They're all good again. And the next minute he turns around and he's upset. He's got a lot of mood swings. If I were Miami, because right now, if you look at the Dolphins, when they're fully whole, it's a good football team.
Yep.
But it's a good football team that nobody really considers a legitimate threat to win the AFC, right? Nobody looks at them that way. They go, they're good, and I guess you could go, they have a chance. But when we go, who do we think is going to win the AFC? We always looking at Baltimore. We're going to look at Buffalo.
Yep.
Kansas City is always lurking. And then we're looking at a younger, more up-and-coming team, like maybe the Chargers or the Texans or somebody of that ilk.
Yeah.
But we don't talk a lot about the Dolphins. And I think it's because when people look at their franchise quarterback, when they look at Tua, everybody agrees Tua's a good quarterback, right?
Yes.
He is a good quarterback. But I don't know if anybody throughout the league looks at Tua and go, he's one of those guys, right? He's one of them ones.
Right.
I don't think they view him that way. And even though when he first got
there, I don't.
Right. But he's a good but we do agree he's a good quarterback, right? He's a good quarterback.
Yeah. Can make all the throws.
Right. And
look, all the throws.
Tyreek Hill said all the right things becoming a Dolphin, right? He even said, he said he was better. Remember, he said he was better than Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yep.
Which he knows that's not true.
Outlandish.
Right. He knows that's not true.
That was a diabolical and an illogical comment. That was just diabolical, man. That's some serious shade.
Well, it's not. Here's the best kind of shade. Since Tyreek Hill left, they won 2 more Super Bowls.
Yup.
So that's the shade that actually counts. Like, that's how much they needed Tyreek Hill. Would they like to have him back? I guess. But I don't think they would lose. They haven't lost sleep over him being gone. They've managed to do what they've done without him.
Kept going.
Right. Look, I think that if I were the Dolphins, especially their GM, I would consider moving on from Tyreek Hill. I would. I don't think he's a team builder. I think he's too much about himself.
I wonder if Skip Bayless looked into this. Would he call him a team obliterator?
Oh, no.
I wonder if he would call him a team obliterator. He probably would.
He might, but I would say that, look, T.O. was a lot more vocal, a lot more volatile. I don't think, and first of all, let me be clear. I don't think T.O. was anything that Skip Bayless said. I think that he was.
I don't think it was either.
I think he was mercurial. He was very vocal. But when you looked at what he did on the field, he was there. He showed up, and you got 1,000% out of him. I don't think Tyreek Hill's that. I just think that he seems to be he's less of the solution and more of the problem.
Where do you have T.O. ranked?
All time?
In terms of Robertson.
He's either 3 or 4 all time for me. I think he's right there. Look, I think you can lock in Rice and Moss.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, and you can literally flip a coin between Randy Moss and T.O.
You could.
The difference between the two is this: Moss is just out and out naturally gifted. I mean, physically gifted with that kind of top end speed, the leaping ability, the hands.
Mm-hmm.
T.O. was a physical freak in a different way. He was stronger. But he didn't have the quickness Moss has. He was fast. T.O. when he ran after he caught the ball, he looked like a running back. He ran like a running back.
Yeah.
He ran with anger. I think Moss has better hands. But I think T.O. had a bigger physical presence. So I would I would put Moss ahead of T.O. But being ranked 3rd all time is not a slap in the face.
It's not a slap in the face at all.
Right. It's not a slap in the face at all. So look, I think Terrell Owens was a great player. He came with some baggage, but he was a great player.
Yeah.
And look, not a lot has changed. Here we are in 2025, and you've got a few great wide receivers that are kind of annoying, that run their mouth, that are never satisfied. So a lot of things don't change.
Yeah. Where do you have? I talked about this with one of my homeboys yesterday. Where do you have Calvin Johnson?
Um, I probably don't have him as ranked as high as other people do, but I guess top 10 maybe. But
Yeah.
I don't even think that's a slap top 10.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
But a lot of people have him ranked a lot higher. I will say this: I watched a lot of Lions games, especially when they played good teams that I was interested in watching.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of his stats or numbers they came after they were getting thumped. Like when you thumping a team and then
Mhm.
you go into that shell coverage.
That
He
little
got a,
that prevent.
he got a lot of he got a lot of yards. I'm just saying the receptions like during getting the brakes beat off of him. So I I think that physically he's bigger than T.O., which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
Athletic, can high point the football. So he obviously had great ability, but I don't know that he was as good when you look. Like, I can't go on what your potential. I can only go on your career. I
Right.
don't think his career aligns with any of those guys we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So I
I think so.
I think he's kind of overrated.
Now, Mo, let me ask you this about another receiver who's currently playing. Is DeAndre Hopkins, is D Hop just a guy now?
Yeah, and maybe just a guy as a compliment. It it's hard when you watch a guy that was once one of the best at his position, right?
Yeah.
And they get older, and you lose a step, and then the things that kind of he made his money on his hands. He has some of the best hands in football.
He did.
And then he's as he's gotten older, he's dropping the ball, or I mean, he had a huge drop in the postseason. So I I guess because I'm a fan, I root for him to have a bounce back season and be impactful. But that's me, the fan, wanting that to happen.
Right.
The reality is, I doubt it's going to happen.
Now, we have a free agent wide receiver out there by the name of Amari Cooper. Where are some of the spots you can see where Amari Cooper might end up when the season starts?
He's a good football player. He's been a good football player his whole. You know what the weird thing about Amari Cooper is? He's been really good wherever he's been, right? But we've never said Amari Cooper is one of the best three receivers in football.
No.
We never said that. We've always said he's really good and he's nice. So I do think he has value. I actually think at this point in his career, he would be a really good two. I think he could be a really good number two or a great number three because he's a solid route runner, good hands. He has just enough speed to be able to get downfield, but I think he's better in the hashes. So I think a lot of teams are going to have interest in him. Look, I'm looking at my own team. I think we have, if you look at our receiver situation, I think we should be looking to try to get Amari Cooper.
And there's talks you guys might give up on Brandon Ayuk. So we got to see. We got to see. That's for sure.
Look, they can give up on him if they want. They still got to pay the man. Like the contract he signed, the guaranteed money is the guaranteed money.
Right.
But with the injury he had, again, it's another one of those Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
You're a wide receiver. Your bread and butter, right, is if you're not a great route runner or a physical over the middle kind of receiver like a Michael Irvin or Keyshawn Johnson. I don't even know if Brandon Ayuk's going to be healthy at training camp. Right,
he might not be. Yeah.
Like I think it's that kind of injury. You usually, even when you can come back, you need a full season under your belt, and then the next season you look closer to what you're going to look like for the rest of your career. I hope he returns healthy, but I don't want him rushing back. I don't want him rushing back. Look, I think if you're the Niners, it's not about giving up on him, but you need to make a move because you're probably going to be without him at the start of the season. And right now, that receiving core is pretty thin.
I'll tell you another place I'd love to see him go, the Seahawks.
Yeah, look, like I said, he's a really good wide receiver. He's been productive everywhere he's gone. I think the Seahawks will be a good fit. It's funny because we were joking about the Cowboys, but they could use another receiver, and he's been there before, right? He's been there before. He's familiar. I don't know what the price tag would be, but look, Amari Cooper as a number 2, I like the way that sounds.
I do too. I think the Jets would be another spot. Your 49ers would be a good spot, particularly if Ayuk getting completely healthy. I like the Raiders. I like that situation there for him to go to. The one that really sticks out to me, though, because of Josh Jacobs, is the Packers.
I like the Packers, but they do already have a very good young receiving core. He would add to it, but the difference is going to the Packers. I don't think he would be the best receiver.
Mm.
I don't think you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he would be the best receiver. Maybe where he would have more value, being a second or a third, go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Go to Kansas City.
How about Arizona?
I don't know why you go there. You ain't gonna win, so don't go there. I mean, if the money, look, if it's about money and Arizona's going to pay you the money, go to Arizona.
Oh yeah.
But let's be honest. If you're a wide receiver and you have selfish impulses and you want to put up big numbers, maybe.
Jerry, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Jerry?
How you doing, Jerry? Welcome to the stream. Packers don't need any more receivers. They could use more defensive line depth. I agree with that. My only thing is I love the fact that the Packers have Josh Jacobs as a running back. He draws so much attention, and the fact that receiving core at time has been hit with injuries. And that's why I think Cooper would be a great depth piece to that receiving core. You see Reed go out in stretches with injuries. So that's why I think it would be a good spot. Yeah, I'm there with you, Jerry. I'm there with you. See, I abandoned the Mets for the Braves, and now the Braves suck.
You can't control health, right?
You can't. You really can't. You really can't. And that's the Braves' problem. Health. But again, I think if there's a team that could pull it together, it would be the Braves. If they could pull it together and get healthy, that's something they could do. But yeah, they did implode. They did. This series with the Dodgers ain't make them look good at all. At all. And yes, you losing to the World Series champions, but it's a long season. 162 games.
I was getting ready to say, man, baseball is the only. It's probably the only sport where you can lose. You can start the season out 1-8 or 2 for 10, and go, we're still good. You know what I mean? It's early. When baseball is very unique. It's early.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's
still like well over 150. You're good. Like, you're not done. You're not done.
Yeah, you just starting slow.
Right. It's very unique in that way where you can win 80 games and be like not so good. So I'm just saying that's another part of baseball.
Let me ask you this: going to the NFL draft for a minute, and I know we're looking. Oh, dang! I shouldn't have said the White Sox now. Oh man,
she's taking shots.
Oh man, yeah, you really don't panic until Memorial Day. That's true.
I'm just saying.
So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna go to the NFL draft for a minute. Ashley Genty, can he be the next Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that. I think he could be a good football player. To say he's going to be the next Saquon has a unique skill set. He also has a unique body type, right?
Yes.
He's not very tall. I think Saquon's like maybe 5'10", but more importantly, he's got tree trunk legs. Have you ever? Yeah. I mean, he's got those Earl Campbell tree trunk legs. Like, he's a unique body build. Like, he's a speed back, but because of his legs and his power in his legs, he can run between the tackles. He's effective in either way. So saying he's the next Saquon that's high praise. I'm gonna hold back on that. I think he can be very good though at the next level.
I think he can too, but if he comes back healthy. I think he can.
That's the key.
Yeah, he's got to come back healthy. All right. Now, I want to ask about Russell Wilson. Is he tarnishing his legacy by signing with the Giants?
No, I don't think so. I think he still wants to play football. And I think that if you look at his experiences, he went to Denver, and year one, he was extra arrogant and he alienated his teammates, right?
Big time.
I give him credit. He admitted that after the fact, but he did big time. And then year two, here comes Sean Payton, and Sean Payton knows everything that went on with year one. And from day one, Sean Payton established I don't like you. like I'm just that's very unique. It's one thing if a coach comes in and goes, well, he's not my guy. I didn't bring him here. He's not my guy. But he took it another level and go, you're not only not my guy, I don't even like you. I don't like your face. I don't like you. That's a rough experience. And then you go to the Steelers, you get injured in training camp, Fields becomes a starter. They're pretty good with Fields, but not as good as they could be. You come in, you play well, you do what Russ does with the moon balls, and they look good, but then you have a horrendous finish to the season, and the Steelers turn around and go, yeah, Russ, we kind of like you, but we're kind of waiting on seeing what Rodgers is going to do, right? Like, I feel like the league as a whole has looked at Russell Wilson and said he's washed. This is not me speaking.
Right.
This is the league. This is his own peers, his league saying, you're not one of those dudes. You're just a dude.
Right.
I think because he's been demeaned as much as he has, I think he's going to end up having a solid statistical season. That doesn't mean the Giants are going to be a winning team.
Oh yeah.
But I think that Russ is going to have a good bounce back year. And I think what he's wanting is he's wanting that kind of redemption where he can say, hey, what if I have a 28 touchdown or 30 touchdown, 9 pick season and I'm solid. I can walk away that way, right?
Right.
Because Russell Wilson didn't go to the Giants with the intentions of competing for a Super Bowl. I think he went to the Giants to show that he can still play football at a fairly high level.
Right. That's a Jerry Jones picking, Genty. Man, go get a running back when you need to get better along the line. This is true.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you have. She's 100% right. I don't care if you got Derrick Henry in the backfield. Yep. If your offensive line is trash, your running game is going to be trash.
Yep. The Giants protects here as quarterback because Tommy Cutlass ain't it. Man, I'm still trying to figure out why you kept that man on a roster.
Because they wanted to have the most entertaining quarterback room in football. Russ, Jameis, and Cutlass. Come on, man. That alone is entertaining. And I guess you got to give the fan base something to cheer about, Will. I mean,
true.
You're not winning anything. So yeah.
No.
Although, look, I think it's fun what the owner did to the GM and the coach by saying, look, Daboll, you guys either win or you're fired. So just on that alone, Will, are we not going to have our eyes on the Giants week after week? Like, well, they're up to 7 losses now. So you know what I mean? I hope Daboll and old boy are renting, right? We're going to be there watching the Giants literally from week to week about, well, they're fired. Fired.
Oh yeah. Last night went great for me. I just want to say that before I get out of here. Last night great. The Knicks took a loss. I'll see them in Cancun over there with Pat Bev and the company. I'm just happy that they lost last night. Let me go ahead real quick and jump on this Mania. We got WrestleMania coming up. Is everything shaping up to be what you think it will be, particularly with Cena and Cody?
I think it's shaping up to what we all think it's going to be. I feel like there's another.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's another twist in that story, right? Everything is kind of black and white. Cena's the heel, and he's embracing the heel. Cody's the over-the-top face, and yet I feel like there's going to be another twist. Maybe we don't see it until WrestleMania.
Yep.
But I don't know. I've got a funny feeling that it wouldn't surprise me if there, like, I think there's another star that's not being mentioned that's going to be involved in this some kind of way. And so I'm eager to get to WrestleMania. So I love where that story is going. I love that they added a little bit more drama to the Jey Uso Gunther thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those to amp things up. Jimmy had to kind of fall on his sword to amp things up and take that L. Yep. But I like that. That kind of livened up the match because it was kind of stale. That makes it a lot more compelling. I love where we're going with the women, with Bianca, Rhea, and Io.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I still believe. I still fully believe, because in plain sight we can tell Rhea's the heel right now.
Oh yeah.
But I think when you get to Mania and it's about who wins the match and how they win the match, I still think Bianca's going to be the heel.
She could be. She could be. Very well could be. Mania as a whole, just that still, because it's supposed to be our Super Bowl. And it's always been regarded as our Super Bowl each and every year that we have it. But does it really have the same meaning that it used to back in the day?
I would say each Mania is different. But what I will say is if you watch the last WrestleMania, I loved it. I loved it. I mean, and I know that it took place in Philly, and it was cold there. Here's the crazy part. It was cold there, but the fans were engaged. Like, they were engaged in that. Were there a couple of matches that kind of underachieved in terms of performance? Sure. But overall, the bigger matches, I was here for it. I enjoyed it. The final match, the main event of night 2 was amazing. That finish with the surprise, all the surprises and the run-ins, like, I loved all that. So I think WrestleMania, more times than not, lives up to the hype. And more importantly, I think that if you look at what Triple H has done, having full control over creative and things like that, him and his team have made more compelling stories.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when you make more compelling stories and you put the right talent in those stories, it can make for great, compelling matches.
If you could fantasy book a WrestleMania match, if you could just fantasy book it, who you want to see, maybe 2 guys who are active, one dude's active, another dude's retired, something like that. If you can fantasy book a WrestleMania match, what would it be?
A match that I would have loved to have seen, I would have loved to see The Rock versus Bret Hart, both in their prime.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see Rock versus Bret Hart. I've seen Shawn Michaels against Ric Flair, but I saw him against old Ric Flair. I would have loved to see Shawn Michaels against prime Ric Flair, because I think that would have been a great match.
Oh yeah, me too. That'd be a good one.
I would have loved to see the Usos take on the Road Warriors.
Ooh,
I think that would have been fun.
Ooh,
I think that would have been entertaining. Or the Freebirds, the Fabulous Freebirds with Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy. I
Hold on, we using Freebird rules in that match?
Well, you have to. It's the Freebirds.
You gotta use it. You gotta use it.
You have to, right?
Gotta use it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Buddy Roberts will be there. You gotta use it, right?
Oh heck yeah, man! He gets so underrated.
Buddy Roberts is very underrated. There are so many great stars that from the past, but even just in recent memory, I would not mind seeing a prime Stone Cold Steve Austin against Brock Lesnar.
Ooh-wee.
I think that would have been fun.
I would love to see him. I would love to see Stone Cold versus Goldberg at his height.
Yeah, that would be a good one. You're talking about when Goldberg was like at his WCW powers,
WCW height. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Not WB, his WCW height.
Yeah, that would have been a tough match. Like I said, there are so many great combinations. You give me Triple H and give me Triple H, and I would have liked to see Triple H go up against somebody like in his prime. I would like to see Triple H go up against somebody like Superstar Graham. There's so many terrific Jimmy, not Jimmy Snuka, but Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat is great in those Iron Man matches.
And Ricky can work with, and the thing that Ricky had, he could work with anybody.
Yeah. I like Ricky Steamboat versus Seth Rollins would be a great match.
That would be a good one. That'd be a good one. My thing with Goldberg is this. He was good for what he was in WCW. He was good for what he was. You knew 5-10 minutes, no longer than 15.
Facts.
You knew what he was.
And they had that guy years before in WWE. We just called him the Ultimate Warrior.
Yep.
You knew what the Warrior was.
Yep.
You knew that you weren't going to get any wrestling moves. And
no,
for what he did and what he was good at, you get like a good 10 minutes of action, right? That, because he was limited in what he did, but the few things that he did, the crowd loved it. It drew him in.
I think you saw his
match. I just had a great match real quick. Macho Man in his prime versus Seth Rollins.
That would be good.
Yeah.
That would be good. But I think with Goldberg, I think it's a. I, I'm not going to, because again, he was great for what he was and
No,
for
I
what he
agree.
did for the sport.
I agree.
But I think he's more of a better ambassador than he ever was a wrestler. Because if you listen to his interviews and if you talk to him, he takes the business real seriously. He talks very, very well about his experiences. He helped other guys get over, such as Big E. He sort of kind of passed the torch to him a little bit. So I think that he was great for what he was, but as a wrestler, but I think he's an even better ambassador for the sport than he was a wrestler.
I like the way you put that. And when you frame it that way, Goldberg's a better ambassador for the sport than Hulk Hogan ever was.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Controversy galore about Hogan. I will never take away what Hulk Hogan did for the business because the business wouldn't be what it was if it wasn't for him. But at the end of the day, it goes back to you looking at him as a person. And as a person, there's some questionable stuff there. Questionable stuff. Um, all right, Mo, we're at 57 minutes in here on Wide Wire Sports. I want to thank everybody for coming through this morning. We do appreciate you. Lively chat this morning. Appreciate everybody being here. Mo, go ahead and close us out.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
All right, you guys, that's going to do it for me. I will be back on Monday with another great edition of Coffee and Sports in the morning here on Wire to Wire Sports. Want to make sure everyone has a fantastic day. Take care of yourself. I'll see you on Monday.